My name is Missy. I'm joined by a couple other trainers today you'll be meeting in a moment. Do you guys want to pop your heads out, Jen and Donna, and give them a wave? Jen? And yes, we do represent San Diego Zoo Global. We're here today. We travel around because we like to present our animals. We're introducing you to some of our animal ambassadors today. We like to talk about what we do in conservation. Our main goal is to lead the fight against extinction, and we want to let everyone know if you get the opportunity to travel down to San Diego and visit us either at the San Diego Zoo or at the Safari Park, that's just a small portion of what we do. We are involved with conservation work in so many countries around the world, and that's our main purpose. So we feel like we can better kind of explain that and touch people if we have our animal ambassadors for everyone to meet close up. So we're going to start introducing you to some right now. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Jen, we're ready for you.
All right.
She has the armadillo in her hand. What a great reaction. We thought this would be the perfect animal to start with because we typically get that reaction. So this is a southern three-banded armadillo. His name is Geronimo, and he's about 14 years old, believe it or not. This is just a small armadillo species. In fact, they are the second smallest of all the armadillo species. There are about 20 armadillo species found in the Americas. The cool thing about this one is this is the only type that can roll up into a perfect ball. None of the others can do that. Has anyone traveled to like Florida or Texas, Arkansas, and seen the armadillos there?
Yes. No.
Yeah.
Usually on the road.
Yeah, unfortunately that's the case. They are quite slow moving. They look very different than this, don't they?
Yeah, a lot bigger.
It's just a different species, exactly. It's a 9-banded armadillo. They are larger, darker in coloring, but they do not have the ability to roll into a ball like you're seeing right there, which is such an incredible thing. Why might they roll into a ball? To protect themselves. Also, they sleep in that position as well. And he said, I'm not sleepy at all, guys. No, he was up all night with Jen in her hotel room, and so she says, yeah, she heard him all night long, walking around. But as you look at that outer surface, which is really cool, that is basically modified skin, and it's covered with keratin, and it is quite hard. After our presentation, we're going to give you guys the opportunity to interact with some of our animals, so we'll have some opportunities for touching and such. I see some of you are reaching out and really wanting to touch. We will give you that opportunity. But it is quite hard, and it's keratin, same material as our fingernails. So that's basically the armor for this little guy. And here he goes. So usually their first strategy, if they think there's danger, is yes, just roll into a ball, stay tucked in, and hope the predator cannot figure out how to get inside. Everybody just keep walking as when we are holding them. Now, if you look really closely, the big claws you see on those front legs, he's literally walking on the tips of the claws of the front legs and then the soles of his hind feet. They can get pretty quick moving if need be. If there's danger, they can zip pretty quickly. But honestly, Geronimo, being a little bit older, he takes his time when he's moving. He is in no hurry at any point, and that's absolutely fine. Yeah, if you take a look at the hair as well, the ones that are sticking out the sides, those act a little bit like feelers, almost like whiskers with a cat, so that he can better navigate around in his environment. His eyesight's not very good, but his best sense is the sense of smell. Did you notice when he was walking, his nose is kind of bobbing up and down? So a very keen sense of smell. He can find his food by that sense of smell. Anyone want to guess what he likes to eat?
Bugs.
Bugs, indeed. He's an insectivore, so they eat a lot of ants. They eat termites, but they have been known to eat little bits of vegetation as well, but they don't have teeth in their mouth to chew like we think of chewing. So typically it's long, sticky tongue. He flicks it in and out. Bugs stick to it. He pulls it back into his mouth, and the stomach will do the grinding. So it works very well for these guys. It looks like he's going to take a nap right there for your photo, right? You probably can count the bands as well, the 3 bands. As Jen walks by, which makes these guys the southern 3-banded armadillo. I didn't mention, but this is a South American species. You won't find these guys here up in North America, and all 20 species of armadillo are found in the Americas, North America, Central America, or South America. But Geronimo has done a really good job for us.
Yes. How old is he, did you say?
He's about 14 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and so honestly, when I was saying he just takes his time, he really does. As animals age, they get a little slower. It happens to all of us, right? So he kind of takes his time, and in a zoo type of a setting, life expectancy can be into the 20s, believe it or not. But in the wild, probably not as long. It's just a harder life for sure in the wild. Well, thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
I see Donna is waiting. You can give Jen a round of applause. That's fine. This is one of our newer ambassador animals, really unique animal that's called a skink. Who's heard of a skink? What's a skink? It's a lizard. Yeah, exactly. In fact, skinks, the family of skinks, make up the largest percentage of lizards. They make up about a third of all lizard species on the planet. This one right here, aren't they cool looking?
Yeah. Oh,
This is called a prehensile-tailed skink or a Solomon Island skink. You probably can guess where they're found, Solomon Islands. When we talk about skinks, they can be a little bit different in their appearance, just depending on where they're found. Some skinks actually have no legs or very small, reduced legs. They're often found in sandy environments, and they literally swim through the sand. Sometimes they're even called sandfish because of that. If you look at Ashi, that's this particular skink's name, you will see rather large claws on this particular skink. Also that really long tail, that prehensile tail. You guys want to guess where this skink species likes to live?
Trees.
Good job, yeah, exactly, trees. So those claws, that's why Donna's wearing the gloves, by the way. Those claws are excellent for gripping onto the tree branches. And that long tail basically works like an extra limb wrapping around tree branches. And this species of lizard hardly ever leaves the trees in the Solomon Islands. They spend their entire lives in the trees. They'll raise their youngsters there as well. You can see a little bit of how the tail wraps right there, which is really cool. So we just talked about the armadillo liking to eat bugs. Anyone want to guess what this lizard likes to eat? What do you think?
Bugs.
You know what? They might from time to time, but primarily they like to eat different types of leaves. They'll eat eggs from time to time and different fruits and such in the trees. So primarily they're more herbivores, but from time to time maybe a bug, and also if they can find a bird egg, something like that as well. Now when we talk about reptiles, they're kind of interesting in a lot of ways. One of the things that reptiles are kind of notorious for is that they don't do any care for their offspring. Typically, the female will lay eggs or in some cases give birth to live young, and they usually go on their way. And that's just the way it is in the reptile world. Different for this particular species of skink. Typically, mom will only have one youngster, and she's gonna take care of it. It's gonna stay with mom for 6 months or even longer sometimes. It's kind of interesting. This is a social lizard species. Most are not social. You guys wanna do a fun game?
Yeah.
I think it's fun. I don't know if you. So we'll see. Yeah. Groups of animals. Yeah, Terry's like, I don't know. You know, when we find groups of animals together, we often will give them a name. Anyone ever heard of a group of crows? Murder. Yeah. How about a group of hyenas? Good guess is their clan usually. Group of pigs is called a sounder. How about a group of skinks like this? I would be super impressed if anyone. I had no idea myself.
Snakes.
That's not it. They're typically not a social animal, so it doesn't happen very often. But it's called a circulus with these guys. It's kind of interesting. So families will often stay together, helping to raise the youngsters. Gives that youngster a better chance for survival. But it is unusual that this particular species only gives birth to one live young, and they actually will care for it until it's an adult, which is kind of a cool thing.
6 months as an adult.
A little bit longer than that. They'll stay around longer, and they may even stay within that family group for longer to help with the next generation. It's kind of a cool thing. Circulus. Yeah, it's an interesting name. It's gonna stick in your brain, right? We'll test you at the end of this and see how it goes, okay? All right, well thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
I know, very cool. This is your first outing. I'll be I know, cute, right? I will be handing over the speaking duties in just a moment to Donna. This is one of the cutest animal ambassadors we have, however. His name is Fernando. He is a tamandua, or a lesser anteater. Jen will be walking through, giving you a closer look, and Donna will tell you a little more about him.
So just like the skink, the tamandua, or lesser anteater, has a prehensile tail, a good set of claws. So he spends his time up in the trees as well. You'll find the tamanduas in the rainforest from southern Mexico throughout Central and South America. Usually we think of the giant anteater when you think of anteater, the big 6 foot long shaggy guys. So he is gonna maybe max out at about 20 pounds or so, and Fernando here is just over a year old. And then there's another type called the Silky Anteater. They're a little smaller than the tamandua. You might notice a slight skunky odor, and that would be not Jen. And the nickname for the Tamandua is the stinker of the forest. So, his best defense, climb high and get away, but for him, danger could be any of your rainforest cats, from jaguars to ocelots to margays. And if they get a little too close, he kind of smells like a rotten skunk. And it's like a cloud of skunk smell surrounds them, so those predators say no way. If he's super agitated, he would spray standing up on his hind legs and spraying forward. But it does the job. Even people don't want to hunt Tamandua. So it's a super good defense.
Emit the fragrance.
Well, they will do it for protection, but then they're a solitary animal. So they do it in a slider variation as a calling card. Drop it off his business card. Hey, I've been through this area. If he's excited and playing, he gets a little skunky as well. But it's a mild, pleasant skunk when he's having a good time, as opposed to the rotten skunk, stay away from me. For these animals, their habitat really needs protection. And again, part of our mission, we want to end extinction. It's a lofty goal, but we are very powerful with the decisions we make and the actions we do. So recycling wood, reusing wood and such, not depending on the hardwoods from the rainforest, saves habitat, or using sustainably grown products. Recycling aluminum, it's from bauxite, which is mined beneath rainforest floors. And then in general, we're all from California, saving water. Although we've had a nice wet year, everything is so beautiful and green in this area. But saving water and electricity really has a big impact on animals all over. Now, the Tamanduas will live to be into their mid-teens in a zoo setting. A little shorter out in the wild. Again, they have a lot of danger. They have to look for food. Being an anteater, primary diet is ants. He is not demonstrating his tongue to us. Typically, we'll see it when he yawns, but his tongue is actually as long as a giraffe or an okapi tongue. 14 to 16 inches long. It looks like a piece of pink spaghetti. It shoots in and out, slurping up to a pound of ants a day. Wow. They will shoot that tongue in and out, and someone counted up to 200 times a minute at top eating speed. But ants are moving fast. You gotta slurp them while you can. She's nature's #1 conservationist too. Use your resource wisely. The Tamandua will get into an ant nest, eat a small portion, move on to another ant nest, eat a small portion, scent marking as they go. They retrace their steps following their scent. When it's just right, they know the colony has repopulated. There's always a place to find food. So they really manage and conserve their food. Well, I think we have another animal ready to visit. And we're gonna switch to the other side of the world. This is Rinya, and she's a red-fronted turaco. And this is a new experience for her. And she's doing a wonderful job, a beautiful bird. They are the national bird of Angola, a fruit eater. Luckily, a stable population, we like to hear that. And vital to the environment because she's kind of like the Johnny Appleseed. They do eat fruits and such, process the seeds, deposit it with fertilizer, and help propagate plants throughout their habitat. Turacos are known for their beautiful colors, and the green and the red, it's actually a pigment. It's just not seeing the light reflect off of the feathers. So you could actually grind those feathers up, soak them in water, and you get a true pigment. It's called Turacin for the red. And they're just amazing birds. A really neat call that they make as a warning, hey everyone, let's protect ourselves, dangers in the area. And they are a social bird. Typically, several birds will help raise a clutch of chicks. So very good helpers and a jewel of the forest for sure. Very inquisitive, looking around. A daytime or a diurnal bird, so really good eyesight, really good color vision as well. And they will show a flash of color when they fly. She says, I'm just sitting here hanging out, but underneath it's quite a vibrant, velvety red color that the turacos have.
How do you travel with the animals?
How do we travel? We all drove up from San Diego, and our animal ambassadors are trained. They travel typically all over San Diego County, meeting school groups, or we do outreach to people who can't actually physically visit us at the safari park as well. So as animal trainers, it's our job just to work with them and get them comfortable. But we all rode up in our vans, and they did a super good job. All right, Miss Rinya, the turaco.
And I'm going to be taking over for Donna. My name is Jen. So my name is Jen, and Donna will be bringing out the next animal. It is going to be a snake. I always like to warn our guests in case we have anyone who is frightened of snakes, but not a venomous snake. So we're not paid enough for that, right? The venomous snakes. He is going to be a type of constrictor or a python. So kills his prey by giving it a nice big squeeze or a big hug. And he is going to be coming. This species comes from Australia. So think of the environments in Australia, what type of snake might be coming out. So take a look at his coloration. Where in Australia do you guys think he might come from? Desert, you guys nailed it. So he is a sand python, or another name for them is a woma, W-O-M-A. And they come from the deserts of Australia. So what do you think he might eat out in the deserts of Australia? Rodents. So that's what we think of most pythons eating are rodents, and that is a huge service that our pythons and other snakes will serve for us, as getting rid of the rodent population, or at least controlling the rodent population. So there's some interesting statistics I've learned recently about kind of rodent-eating snakes and the service that they provide for us. If you were to take out all of the rodent-eating predators from the world, after just 3 months, the entire Earth, including the oceans, if they had dried up, after 3 months with no rodent-eating predators, we would be waist deep in rodents. And that is because of how quickly they reproduce. If you left one boy and one girl mouse alone in a field for 1 year with no predators, after that 1 year, you would have 1 million mice in that field. So snakes serve a huge purpose controlling that rodent population. So most pythons do eat rodents, and he may if he could find some, but you're not going to find too many mice, rats in the deserts of Australia. What would you find in the deserts? What kind of animals live in deserts? Reptiles, right? Other reptiles. So he may eat rodents, but more commonly may eat other snakes and lizards. So kind of different prey for what you normally see from a python. And how do snakes find their prey? Anybody know? He was demonstrating, still is, the tongue. And what's he doing with his tongue? Smelling, right? So that is how he would find his prey, smelling with that tongue. And his tongue is fork-shaped, right? V-shaped, fork-shaped tongue. Anyone know why it has 2 points? Ours just has 1. Why would a snake's have 2? Just to look creepy and scary, maybe? Yeah. It serves that purpose too. But it's actually the same reason that we have 2 ears. If there was a loud noise over there and we were blindfolded, we would know that the noise came from over there without looking, because we have directional hearing. That 2 ears, if that sound comes from over there, it hits this ear first and in higher quantity. So his tongue works the same way. He's got it out in the air collecting scent particles, and he collects more scent particles on the right-hand side fork of his tongue. He knows, oh, I got to turn that way to look for my food. So it gives him directional smelling, just like we have directional hearing. So it is useful. True with most of Mother Nature, the colors on an animal, their adaptation, the shape of things always serves a function, not just random. So we talked about then how he finds his prey, how he would kill it with a constricting, nice big squeeze. And then how does he eat his prey? How do snakes eat?
In one gulp.
In one gulp, yes. They swallow it whole. And snakes can eat things that are 2 to 3 times the size of their head. So for us, that would be like swallowing a whole pumpkin, a whole watermelon, a whole Thanksgiving turkey. So how are they able to do that? And our next guest is already excited to meet you guys. A mystery, what might it be? So they actually have some extra bones in their jaws called quadrate bones where they can open up nice and wide, connected with real stretchy ligaments. Another unique feature of their jaws, our bottom jaw comes together at our chin, nice hard bone here. His bottom jaws, the two sides, are just connected with like a stretchy ligament, like a rubber band, so he can actually use each side of his jaw independently to walk over his food.
Do you ever feel a sense of recognition from the snakes, like toward you, like as you handle them?
I would say they can tell your comfort level, because I've seen someone handle a snake that was nervous, and the snake was more quite moving around quite a bit, and then when you're relaxed, they're just kind of...
But it's not like they develop a relationship with you necessarily, like other animals do?
Not necessarily, except we have this one snake we call Baby Snake, and he is a big 10-foot-long Indian python, and he seems to enjoy the trainers that have worked with him the majority of his life. He likes everyone, though. He likes to come out for a slither.
Gus is coming
big
out.
predators on.
Switching out. All right. So this little guy, he's little, but his name is Maximus, or Max. And he thinks that he is a big guy. What type of bird do you think he might be? Are y'all all thinking? Y'all are very educated. I love it. Normally, because of the small size, people guess, oh, some kind of maybe songbird, some little robin, sparrow. But you guys were guessing all the right things. Some kind of bird of prey, raptor, hawk, falcon. He is a falcon. He is an African pygmy falcon. So he is the smallest bird of prey in Africa, but not the smallest bird of prey in the world. There are some other smaller birds, but not too much smaller, but little falconets and little owls. So an African pygmy falcon, and the way that we could tell, which you guys already guessed, so you probably know these things, the way we could tell that he's a bird of prey, those big eyes, also that hooked beak, good for tearing meat, and those big talons. He's got big, real big feet and big talons compared to something like a robin. So really great vision with those big eyes. He can see about 8 to 10 times better than we can. So one of the analogies for that is if you could teach him to read and you set him down on the goalpost at one end of the football field and set up a newspaper at the other end of the football field, he could read that newspaper from across the football field. His eyesight is that good. So he will find a nice perch out in the savannas, grasslands, woodlands of Africa, sometimes perch up in a tree or a man-made structure like a post and look for food. And he is a voracious eater, has a very high metabolism, so he eats a lot. And he'll eat rodents. He'll also eat any other small little lizards and reptiles and things that he could find at the safari park and in our hotel room. He gets 1 adult mouse and 2 baby mice every day. So that's a lot for a little bird. So he does eat quite a bit. So these guys, we mentioned that they come from Africa. Now most birds of prey, they are not strong nest builders. A lot of times they'll steal nests from other animals because they're specialized in hunting, not nest building. So that's what this guy does. He is gonna steal some nesting area from weaver birds. So there are weaver birds in Africa that nest in big colonies, sometimes up to like 50 pairs of weaver birds, and they'll build a nest in an acacia tree that can weigh up to a ton. So he'll kick maybe 1 or 2 pairs of those weaver birds out of their nest and move in with his girlfriend and raise a couple eggs at a time. And you would think, oh, how mean, he's kicking all those birds out and just taking over their nest. But it's actually kind of a symbiotic relationship where you heard that noise when he was behind the curtain, and he can make even kind of a louder territorial greeting. And so he serves as an alarm system for those weaver birds. So it works out for them too. He gets the nest and they get the free alarm system. And that's important because the weaver birds do have a lot of snakes that will come up into their nest and try to take the eggs or the chicks, but they're not gonna mess with a nest that sounds like that. And studies have shown there's a pygmy falcon pair in about 1 out of every 4 weaver bird nests in Africa, so very common.
Did you share a hotel room with him too?
Missy shared the hotel room with Max. I had Fernando and Geronimo Armadillo in mind. The ones that were up.
The nocturnal ones went to Jen. I had the diurnal ones.
Missy got to sleep a little bit better. Her room probably smells a little bit better too. Mine smells like armadillo and tamandua. My pajamas probably smell like that too. So real pleasant. Were there any other questions about him?
I mean, are those feathers?
He does. Yeah, he's got covered in feathers, the white feathers on the chest and the gray on the back. So that's called counter shading. So if he was flying in the air and the animal was looking up at him, the white would blend in with the light sky, whereas if something was looking down on him, the dark back against the dark ground. And then he's also got two little white spots on the back of his head. Can you see those that come out to see? So those are called like false eyes or eye spots. So just like your mom when you were little was like, I have eyes in the back of my head. What are you doing back there? He can trick potential predators into thinking that he can see them and they don't have the element of surprise on him. They're not going to try to sneak up and pounce on him because they think that he's looking right at them. So a lot of animals you'll see those false eye spots.
How old is he?
How old is he now?
He's like 8.
8. Yeah. So he's full grown. And adults. Pygmy Falcon, yeah. So who do we have coming on next? Working on it back there. So one of the cool things that we're building down at the zoo and opening up soon is Africa Rocks. And they're one of the habitats there. There's a bunch of different habitats they're building, but the acacia woodlands, and they're going to have some of those big weaver bird nests. And in that same habitat, you would find like leopards and some different types of monkeys. So I don't know if there's going to be any pygmy falcons, but I think it would be really cool. I hope they introduce them to the weaver bird nests. Yeah.
What did you study in college to get this great job?
Great question. What did I study in college? I studied biology, and I was actually a marine science emphasis at the time, but it's all pretty similar. You're learning about animals and ecosystems, and then just started volunteering with animals and exotic animals. And that's the way most people kind of start out. They do have a degree in biology, zoology, sometimes psychology or animal behavior, and then start volunteering with exotics and work their way up. Turn the stage back up to Missy here. Do you want me to pass this around?
Sure, yeah. Well, I was going to wait for me. Perfect. I love the reaction. Wow. Isn't she an amazing animal ambassador? Wow. So her name is Pokey. Thank you. Like that? Yeah. She is an African crested porcupine. And I know Donna's going to walk her up and down here for everyone to get a close-up look. We will ask a favor that you don't try to pet her. You probably weren't going to try anyway.
Or upset her in any way.
She's actually a very good-natured porcupine. In fact, Donna is a trainer who has raised her from when she was just little bitty. She's about 19 years old right now. Oh my God. Yeah. Life expectancy in a zoo setting, though, can be to the late 20s. So she's in wonderful health, and we hope to have her for a very long time and set some records. She's a great ambassador for us. But as she walks by right now, you're going to get a great opportunity to look at the different quills. And I brought some quills with me if you guys do want to see what they feel like. We've dulled the ends so that nobody gets poked. But really quickly, my question for you is this. How far can Pokey shoot those quills out?
Oh, they shoot?
That far right there? How far do you think she can?
10 feet.
10 feet.
Farther. 30.
Farther. 30. You guys are really brave to stay right there then, right? Actually, that is probably the biggest myth about porcupines is that they shoot their quills. They cannot shoot them at all. Yeah. But you guys are very brave. You can go 30 feet. When you look at these quills, and I'll start passing these around now, these are modified hairs. So they're made of keratin, just like our hair, just like our fingernails. And our hair or our fingernails don't just go shooting off, right? So she cannot shoot those quills at all. But that probably came from the fact that they will fall out from time to time. So if a predator were to ram into those quills, or if she were to back into a predator, the potential for some of them to fall out and be stuck in the predator is definitely there. Maybe someone accidentally thought, they shot out, but she cannot shoot them at all. I'll pass these around right now. You're disappointed by this, are you? Here, I'll pass them. We can just pass these guys around. There you go. There's more coming back from the front.
I mean, how sharp are they?
No, there's different types of quills. We doled those down just to make sure no one accidentally pokes themselves. But as Pokey comes around right now, you probably will notice the different types of quills. First of all, kind of on the outside, on the outskirts, see how they're long and kind of pliable and bendy? Those are not much of a weapon, not much protection for her, but what they can do, when she raises those quills up, she looks like twice as big in a moment's notice. If you are a potential prey item and you can look bigger and meaner, even if it's just for a second, you might bluff yourself a bit of a head start, and that might make all the difference in the world. So if she feels threatened, typically her first strategy is to grunt, stomp her feet, raise those quills, and she'll look twice as big just like that. Now if that doesn't work, if the predator still thinks, I'm not so sure, she'll either try to run away, and they're not very fast runners, honestly, but she'll try to run away, and if look now toward the center as Pokey gets closer to you all, the quills toward the center are more dagger-like, really sharp, very thick. Those are going to do a lot of damage. So as a predator tries to run up after the porcupine, she's not very fast, so she's running, and as the predator gets closer and closer and closer, what do you think the porcupine does eventually? Stop. They stop, yeah. And then the predator rear ends the porcupine, and that's not going to be a good day for them. If you look really closely, toward the bottom as well, can you see the quills that almost look hollow-like? Those are rattle quills, and she can vibrate those together and kind of make a scary sound. So again, if you can kind of appear meaner for a moment, you might get a head start in running away, and sometimes that makes all the difference in the world. So she can make those different kind of scary sounds, raise those quills, try to run away, but she's also pretty good at charging backwards as well. So if a predator is absolutely persistent, they have been known to charge backwards and try to ram right into the predator, and it works pretty well. Isn't she the cutest walker, though? Thank you. Yeah, you don't want to be a predator when that's happening.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
She's the only one that's needed like constant food and management. What would happen if you just brought her out here on the leash?
You know what? Pokey has been an animal ambassador, as I mentioned, since she's been really little. So honestly, without the treats, she would probably just not focus very intently on Donna and probably want to explore around.
Yeah.
She's still a wild animal. She's very well trained.
Yeah.
But she's good natured, but she's smart. This is a rodent actually. And rodents are quite intelligent. So she would probably want to explore the environment and chew on lots of things around here. We wouldn't want that. So it's mostly for her and for focusing and doing behaviors that Donna's asking. If you do hear the clicker, by the way, you probably noticed that. That's a training tool we use, and it's in a nutshell telling Pokey that she's done the right thing. It can be for anything. It can be just for sitting there and paying attention. That's exactly what we want her to do. We often get asked, what kind of tricks do your animals know? What kind of tricks do you train them? We don't train any tricks. We don't train them to jump through hoops of fire or anything like that. And in fact, we like to say the best trick they know is this, just being in an unfamiliar environment, close to a lot of people, and being totally comfortable. She's totally fine with this. So Donna's reinforcing her at the times that she does a behavior that Donna's looking for. But yes, without the treats, we probably just would have less focus with her, for sure. I wanted to mention one more thing about the quills. Do you guys notice the banding, how it kind of goes blackish brown, white? Yeah. That's meant to stand out. And for a lot of prey species, they kind of want to blend into their environment. For the porcupine, they want everyone to notice those quills. So that banded appearance is meant to stand out. And there's really fun footage on the internet if you're interested in looking, of like several lions in Africa looking at one porcupine, and you can see them all. They're thinking, ooh, that could be dinner. And it looks like they're all thinking, no, you try, and they leave. It's not worth taking this on. A quill in the leg or something would be a bad ending for a lion in the wild. So very good protection. So for a prey species, the African crested porcupine can afford to be pretty loud. They're pretty loud when they forage. They forage throughout the night. They're known to be very vocal, very noisy, but that's okay because they have really good protection. Not that it's perfect, but it is very good protection for sure.
The quill just hurts the animal, right? It doesn't infect them, right?
But afterwards, a big wound like that could get infected, and that would be a very bad ending. Or an injury that wouldn't allow them to walk normally, something like that. If you're familiar at all with the porcupines in North America, their quills are a little bit different. If you look closely at Pokies, they're like tapered down. Still can do a lot of damage. The North American ones have like a barb, like a fish hook on them, so they're more difficult to get out. Actually. So the quills look different on the North American species than the ones found in Africa and Europe and such. So they definitely do a lot of damage. But I think Pokey is going to do one final pass by for everyone. We want to thank you again for having us today, everyone. We so appreciate it, and we're so happy to share the message of conservation. If you would like to go to our San Diego Zoo Global Wildlife Conservancy and see more about what you can do to help with conservation and our mission in ending extinction. Also, we have a brand new exhibit opening down to San Diego Zoo in June. If you get down our way, check it out. It's going to be amazing. Conrad Previs, African Rocks, is going to be unlike any other exhibit we've had. 6 different habitats, all sorts of amazing African animals, and we hope you can come down and see it with us. But thank you again. Pokey's going to wave goodbye. And she's going to be making her way backstage, I think. We are going to